Okay, repetition and training. These are my thoughts, or some of my thoughts on it. Just lately I've been looking at this subject, and especially in view to things like kata and stuff like that. So kata, the basic of kata is the bare bones of something. So the bare bones of a certain movement. So if it's a martial arts kata, then that's been written down as this is the way you do this to accomplish this, and then you can spend your lifetime improving each part of it until you can do it exactly like the person was trying to do it at the beginning. The Japanese have this concept of kaizen to do this. So you know, if you do say like ichimonji no kata, so I do ichimonji, step forward, do shito. You can break that down. So are you standing in the right kamae? Is your kamae right at the beginning? Is the block okay? Is the step forward? Is the landing okay? Is the kamae at the end of the step okay? Is the shito okay? Is there enough bite in it to actually do what you're supposed to do? And you can break each part of these things down. But if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, going through the motions without thinking about it, which is what I see a lot of martial arts doing, they just go through the thing, and then it's only when someone comes along and says, oh, you're doing that bit wrong, and then they improve that bit, and then they carry on going through the motions and stuff. So just repeating stuff over and over again just for the hell of it isn't going to do anything. If the goal is to improve, then you need this concept of kaizen, where every single part of that must be improved. And then you get people say, well, you could do that with just a few moves. Well, you could, but you've got to understand how the brain works as well, because when you're doing movements and things, you're building sort of everything from muscle to neurons and neural networks and things like that. And when you're doing a mistake over and over again, you built a neural network for that. So you have to get that sorted out as well. So that's to be broken down, and new neural networks have to be built up. So all this stuff takes time. Like when it comes to repeating, like every night I repeat stretching. I do the wide stretch. I hold my feet and pull my head down to the floor, and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's a gradual improvement. And then you've got to take other things into consideration, like your diet, and then just having the time and just doing it. When it comes to systema and stuff like that, and the idea that you can just sort of learn to breathe, learn to relax, someone shows you something, and your mirror neurons just go, I know how to do it now, and then you just get on with it, without any repetition whatsoever in any of the exercises. That's just not going to work. Most of the people doing systema are not in the hands of an instructor. It's spread out all over the world, and basically you've got no one there to say you're doing that wrong. And until you go to a seminar somewhere for your first time in the year, you know, and then someone said no. So, because one of the things when you're training on your own is that most people are not doing it in front of a mirror, and you're not looking at yourself. And sometimes the only time you look at yourself is if you film it, and then everything becomes obvious. You can't lie with your body, that's a fact. You can't pretend you're good at something, and you can deceive yourself, but you can't deceive everybody. And that's another story. So if we go back onto repetition, I think the value of repetition is to do the same thing over and over again without trying to improve anything is pointless. This is why Kaizen was kind of invented. So every time you do something, that you're always looking at what you're doing. You're always checking yourself to say, can I improve this? Can I improve this part? Can I improve this part? And so basically you improve each and every part. When you're learning a new technique, if you've been taught this technique by someone who's like a very good instructor, then you're going to be using your mirror neurons to just copy what he did. Now, if he's been doing this thing for like 30 years or something, and then he's really good at it, you can't hope to be as good as him straight away. He may have been doing that technique for 30 years. And if we go away from the system and go into sort of the other arts that I know, like Bujinkan, Buddha Taijutsu, and you got Hatsumi, who's been training in that particular arts in the 1950s, and then basically, that's my Facebook in the background, and basically it's probably because I'm on Combat Lab, so someone's probably watched that video. So basically he's going from being useless, being taught by Takamatsu, and he's the first one to admit when he's I've been sat in a room with Hatsumi showing us his training with Takamatsu, and he's saying like, look how terrible I am. And the thing is, now he's reached a stage where when he's showing stuff, he's actually not teaching beginners, he's teaching the 10th dans upwards, because basically he's still doing basics, and he's improved and improved and improved to the point where people who are just coming into the art, they can't even see what he's doing, they can't understand what he's doing. But you get someone like me, where I've got a time behind me and a bit of training behind me, I know what he's doing. It's a case of I know what he's doing, but I just can't quite do that, which is an interesting place to be. And so we're all in a state of flux, and even though we're doing the repetition, we have to improve at least one part of that every time we do it. And sometimes it's like, if you're just doing that, like Ichimonji no Kata, what I was saying before, then you'll probably just, I tell my students to break it down, and we just do the shito at the end, just do the block, just do the kamae, just stand in kamae, checking your kamae, and do that, and so you're breaking these things down, and it makes things a lot easier. And then overall, when you do it again, it's improved overall, just because you've improved a part of it. Some of you, or most of you, know that I've got MS, and one of the things that I got was my MS affected my spine, so from about here to here, and that completely wrecked my ability to walk and do a lot of things, and it took at least 5 years to get where I am now, just to walk normally to the point where people don't even recognise there's something wrong with my walk. And even today I was going downtown, and I purposely slowed my walking down, because I got from this point of just walking from A to B, and willy-nilly, not worrying about what I look like, and I could use a walking stick, and I could sort of hobble along and get from A to B. But as any physiotherapist will tell you, if you're sort of like, if there's something wrong with you, and they give you the exercises, and then they want you to walk as normally as possible, because normal walking is a proper biped way of moving from A to B. And what people do is like, they'll have a bit of numbness in the leg, or a bit of foot drop, and then they'll use a stick because it's a bit of a struggle, or it's painful, or it's just not quite right. So they'll So use a stick, and then when you start using the stick, you start going downhill because you're sort of relying on the stick and then you're not relying on your proper biped walk. And what I was doing today was slowing my biped walk and then feeling like, what's going on here with my right leg? And I noticed that there was a bit of tension in the quadriceps and things, and I was concentrating on. I've got a bit of slight foot drop on my right leg, and I was concentrating on keeping my toes up, and basically, and I just concentrated on these two things, and it's hard work, and if you doing things like I was shopping, you end up sort of thinking about the shopping, not the walking. But every time I could remind myself, I would go straight back into the sort of repetition. So every footstep's a repetition, and if I keep doing it over time, there'll be a point where I won't have to think about it because I'll be walking normally again. Because if you're constantly sort of ignoring the fact that there's something wrong, it'll just go worse. It's like a slight deviation that goes worse and worse, and it becomes a huge deviation. So if you look at repetition of sort of keeping the deviations from going so too awry, then I think that's probably the best way. I don't want to go too long because it'll end up, I could talk about this forever, but anyway, I'm going to put this on Combat Lab, see what people think about it, and alright, okay, thanks.